Hey folks, David Stewart here. Hope you guys are having a great day. Time for a record review. You know, I don't do these very much anymore, and the reason is because YouTube tends to punish me for making record reviews. I don't know why, but there tends to be a big crater in views. So if I'm going to make a record review, you know that it's because it's something I'm pretty excited to review, to talk about, and to listen to, either because it's really bad or it's really good. In this case, it's because it's really, really good. It's this album right here. Ondine by Dimhav. If you don't know who they are, they're a Swedish group primarily driven by the brothers Lindroth, Ollie and Staffan Lindroth, with Daniel Hyman on vocals. If you don't know who Daniel Hyman is, he's just the best vocalist in metal. He was the vocalist for Lost Horizon. He's been with a lot of other projects. He's just great. He's the reason that I knew about this band in 2019. They kind of stealth dropped their first album and it blew me away. It was a fantastic album. I still listen to it really often. And I have no doubt I'm going to be listening to this album a lot. I wanted to get this review out earlier than this, but a lot of things held me up. The first one was I was sick. I'm still sick. My kids are a little bit sick. We're sick. And honestly, the album required more than one listen. It required more than one listen to fully understand everything that's on there, as well as it required more than one listen because I just wanted to listen to it more than once. It feels like it's an album that just demands that you listen to it again. It's very rare that I get to the end of an album and I just start that album over again. And that was the case with this album, is that I got to that last song, which is probably my favorite song on the record, Clarion Soul. And it just has this beautiful ending. It trails off quietly, and you're like, I'm just going to start it again. And the record starts again with like a close miking of Daniel Hyman's vocals. It's fantastic. I'm going to give you a by the numbers review for it in just a second, but I just want to emphasize that this is one of those rare records that I feel like is great on the first listen, and it's really good like 5-6 listens in. And I feel like it's probably going to be really good when I listen to it again, probably tomorrow. I've listened to it a bunch of times since it came out, and it continues to present new things to me each time I listen to it. It's very, very dense. One of the things that I really love about it, besides its density, is the variety. There's a lot of different things that you're going to get on this record. And anyway, I'll just go through the numbers. I'll go through the categories and explain why I'm going to give those scores that I'm going to give. You can guess that they're going to be high. I'm trying not to like puff things up too much because I'm really cautious about giving out high scores because especially with something like a 10, that means that there's no flaws. There's nothing that could say, I'd do that differently. So first category is production. It's a 10. When I listen to this record, I don't feel like there's anything that I would change. Even though I'm listening to the streaming version and the pre-order is out now, I'll link it. I'll link the Bandcamp so you can buy the digital version or you can buy the vinyl. I'm going to buy the vinyl. There's a cool white vinyl. I think I'm going to buy that. I'm really excited about that. When things are mastered on vinyl, I tend to prefer the vinyl mastering. In this case, the digital mastering is really excellent. There's nothing that I would change about it. The main thing that determines for me whether a production is good or bad is whether the approach to production supports the music there and whether everything is clearly audible. And it nails it on both of these cases. The vocal production is some of the best vocal production I've heard. The overdubs are perfect. They're perfectly layered. Everything's balanced. There's never a featured instrument that you're not able to clearly and immediately hear, and as well as understand and hear the backing to that instrumental feature. There are loud parts and there are quiet parts, so there's a lot of dynamic range on the album. And the dynamics are not crushed. Even though it feels like a big, full kind of modern production, it doesn't feel like a Loudness Wars kind of record. It doesn't feel like you've overcompressed anything. Nothing feels crushed. Everything feels really audible all the way through, whether it's the chugging guitar parts, and the guitar tone is amazing. I'm a stickler for guitar tone, because I'm a guitar player and I've been doing it for a very long time. I'm also a classical musician. So as a classical musician, the things that would normally bug me on a lot of metal albums are the orchestrations. In this case, the synths and the orchestrations are really good. When they're featured, they sound really clear. I can easily hear all the different voices. When they're more part of a texture, then they kind of blend in and fit into the guitar, bass, drum sound that the sound that they pursued on this album is just really, really good. So I am giving the production a 10 because I really cannot think of anything I would do differently on it, especially given the fact that this is not like a giant production, right? So when you're hearing synths, yeah, maybe you could have 120 person orchestra playing those parts instead, but that's not really in the budget or in the cards for a prog metal project. So the synths are fully there and fully work. There's no issue with the synths. So it's a 10 out of 10. The performances. So this is the best vocal performance I've heard from Daniel Hyman, probably since his band Heed. So 20 years. And he's always good. He's never bad. I've never heard Daniel Hyman not put out a top-notch vocal performance. But his vocal performance on this album is really exceptional. I think the overdubs, the way that he did the overdubs with his vocals, really helped support the fullness of his voice and his sounds. There's a lot of variety with the vocal production and the way he approaches singing. The album starts off with this very intimate sound with his voice, and you're going to get those crazy high notes that you love from him if you're a fan of Lost Horizon. You have those parts that are in there, but they're not just a display of his virtuosity. They're there and they're fully musical. And so what I really feel like is that the compositions were created to feature the vocals in a even better way than their debut album from 2019, which I loved. So I think it's an even better way of supporting Daniel Hyman's vocals. Of course, all the other instrumental performances are top notch. So I'm going to give them a 10. Like, I just don't see the performances as being anything besides a 10 on this album. The guitar leads are incredible. There's so many great keyboard leads. Orchestrations are great. The drumming is just incredible. So much more drum variety and pattern variety and just expressiveness compared to the first album. The first album was absolutely top notch as far as the drumming goes, but Ollie Lindruth really took it to a new level with this album. It's some of the best metal drumming I've heard in quite some time. So all the performances are definitely a 10 out of 10. Then we get to the compositions, and I have to give the compositions a 10 after listening to it a bunch of times. They're very, very dense. So if you were hoping for an album that is full of earworms like that first album, this is this, but it's much more dense, right? So those melodic elements that just get stuck in your mind, whether it's the intro to the first song or it's like some of the lines from The Sunken Star, they'll stick with you even though everything else is so complex. It's a much more complex album than their first one, and I think that that's to its benefit. It is one of those albums that there's parts that you'll remember right away, there's parts that are going to hit you right away, and then there's things that will reveal themselves to you on further listens. So I really think, as good as the first album was, this one almost puts it to shame. It's just on a different level as far as the composition goes. The compositions were the big star of the first album. They're definitely the star of this one. Just everything feels like one unified compositional whole. There's not like, oh, this is a guitar album, this is a drumming album, or this could even be a keyboard album, or this is an album that's just about Daniel Hyman hitting those high notes and being himself. All of those things work together, but the compositions are what pulls them together. So there's great like gent chugging parts. There's jazz sections in it. There's quiet parts with classical orchestrations. Beautiful keyboard solos, great guitar solos. Just everything in it is built to showcase the talents of the musicians that are playing, but also serves the whole. And something that I don't often talk about with metal albums are lyrics. And lyrically, this album just knocks it out of the park. Like, there are some great lyrical metal albums that I really adore, and this is definitely going to be one of them. It's a concept album. The theme of it is more with the ocean. Ondine is a spirit from folklore that gains a human soul by like marrying a man. And you find this theme in a couple of different places. Probably the most popular one you may be familiar with is actually The Little Mermaid by Hans Christian Andersen, Danish author. And the real version of it, not the Disney movie. In the real version of it, basically, mermaids don't have immortal souls, and by basically sacrificing herself just to spoilers, yeah, she's able to gain the opportunity to gain an immortal soul and go to heaven. And so this exploration of these ideas in the lyrics fits with the music. It's just a really unique thing. I wouldn't have seen somebody doing it for like a prog metal album, but we're here. I think the standout track, the standout composition is definitely the closer, Clarion Soul, which pulls those themes together and just has some fantastic moments and just has one of the best endings that I've heard to an album like this. It's very much like Winter Sun. If you're wondering what I would call Dimhav, like I think, you know, sometimes people say Dream Theater is like Yes meets Metallica. Dimhav is like King Crimson, but prog metal. I don't know. King Crimson meets Symphony X. King Crimson meets Devin Townsend or something like that. Meets Lost Horizon with the vocalist from Lost Horizon. It's just like compositions are great. So 10 out of 10 for the compositions. General effect, that has to be a 10 out of 10. The only caveat I would have for this album is that because of its density, because of its complexity, because of how much there is going on there, if you are not like mentally prepared to like listen to the music, you may miss what's going on, right? Like I listened to this while mowing the lawn at one point, but I had already listened to it before. I had to like stop what I was doing and listen to the music because it sort of demands your attention. So if you're hoping for something that's a little more accessible, easier to get into, then start with their first album. Start with The Boreal Flame. It's a fantastic album. I still listen to it frequently. It's still one of my favorite prog metal albums. I just have this feeling, like sometimes you get this feeling when you listen to a record for the first time, you're like, I think this is going to be one of my favorite records. And I felt that with this record. I felt that with first time I ever heard Rising by Rainbow, or like Heaven and Hell by Black Sabbath, or Images and Words by Dream Theater. You hear that, or Far From the Madding Crowd by Wuthering Heights. You just hear it the first time, you're like, this album might be it. You know, this is one of those great albums. And that's how I felt about this album. Like I have to make the video to sing the praises of it because it really is that good. It's worth your time to listen to it. Even if you're not like a big prog metal fan, there's probably going to be something here for you. There's going to be something that's going to tickle your fancy. And if for no other reason than to hear the great musical performances, I think it's worth giving it a spin. I will link the Bandcamp down below. Housekeeping before I bid you adieu after talking about this album. Join my Patreon. I have a new sci-fi story that's out there for patrons, plus a bunch of other books you can get. Newest book to buy on Amazon, it's right here, King Leper, cover art by Jesse White. I also really like this cover art. Now, well, I like the cover. I think Ollie Lindroth did the first cover art for the first one, and I think he also painted this one, and it's a great painting. I love the use of color. I don't know if he like watched my videos on like how to design a cover, how to design a book cover. This is a classic book cover, so it's still using color theory, just in a different way. But like the red and the green and the kind of aqua green color, like it's just a perfect painting. The simple use of clear letters, it's just a really great looking cover, and I really like that. And hey, I'll just say that's another thing. Nailed the cover design. Great use of color, very evocative, very inspirational. Check it out, and I'll see you all next time. Have a great, great day. Oh, I do music too. You can find my music channel link down below. It doesn't sound anything like this. It's my weird ambient stuff, and I will have some solo guitar music coming out this summer. So if you're wondering, where's your solo guitar music? It'll be coming. Don't worry. I'm just working on the pre-production and stuff like that right now. Finally got the amp that I want to record with, and that'll be happening soon. Take it easy.